And now, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the man who runs the show, Mr. Manav Thadani, Founder Chairman, Hotelivate.
Thank you, Shreya. Good afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure it is to see everyone. It's a strange feeling, right? The last time I wore these mics was when I was wearing my shorts in Bali and doing a conference in Bali in September of 2019. And it's taken us 5 events to make it to doing HICSA. And it's such a pleasure to see everyone in person. And I'm quite sure all of you are feeling the same way. I mean, I could pretty much walk away and we could cancel the rest of the day's program. And I think most of you would probably be happy with that situation, just to be able to mingle and see all the people who are in the audience. This HICSA is different, right? I mean, for us, it's our smallest HICSA. I think the first year we did this back 17 years ago, we had around 250 people. It's certainly, we have 250 people attending physically today. We have another 250 people logging on between today and tomorrow virtually. So we have to be cognizant that we can't yet get out of our Zoom calls and team meetings calls, because there are people who are watching this in virtually as well. I'm usually not an emotional person, but this one's special, and it's special because of the support that we got from the industry, right? We have Mr. Chatwal here, who was very kind to offer the hotel as a host hotel. We have, Zubin from Carlson. I have people from IHG. I have Puneet from Accor. Deep is joining us later from MMT. If it wasn't for our sponsors, we won't be able to do this event. And also, if it wasn't for the delegates that had registered last year and who couldn't come this year, and they just stood with us throughout this period, we wouldn't have done this event. So I really want to thank you, because without you, we would not have been able to do this program. The industry has been through so much in the last 18 months, right? We've had to, I think, probably one of the most difficult periods. And we just need to be thankful to God that we are here. I think we are the fortunate ones who are here. I'm not very religious, but I think on this occasion we need to thank the Almighty that is bringing us all together to be in a corporate event. And I think it was also important for us to showcase this event to the larger community. There are still a lot of people. There's still a lot of people in the hospitality space who are afraid to step out of their homes. There are people who are, I know people who had accepted to speak at this conference, and they called in the last 1 week and said, listen, our families are feeling very nervous about letting them travel to Delhi and to be part of a part. I think it's important we send out a message that we can do an event. It can be safe. We've got 250, which is half the normal number of people we get. Taj has been kind enough. We've used double the amount of space. So you can do things safely, and it's important. A few more housekeeping things, as my colleague Shreya mentioned. Please do vote. These are nominations pending for the last 2 years. We will announce the results this evening, so go to your app, please vote, and for your favorite hotel. Before we go on, we wanted to remember some of our industry colleagues. These are people who have attended HICSA before. They have touched my company, HVS Hotelivate, in some way or form. And I think it was very important that we recognize and remember some of them. I know we have probably not been able to add many people to this list, but I just wanted to play a small tribute video, and if we can maintain a minute's silence. these ones are never easy to put together, but I thought it was important. We felt as a team it was important to recognize them because so many of them were part of this process. I've had some sponsors who've been here. I had a colleague who was a managing director with us. So it was very important to kind of recognize them. So today I'm going to talk about a few different things. While we managed to put the conference together in 4 weeks, I didn't have the cookie crumbled for me, and I didn't have too much time to prepare for my own presentation. But I wanted to just share some thoughts and some potential trends. We've had to take some very tough decisions over the last 18 months, right? We've had hotels that have closed down. We've had hotels that we had to let go of people in our businesses. We had to reduce employees. We had to do all kinds of things just to survive. Payroll cuts took place. And what I came to realize is something that I learned over the last 6-7 years before this event. When I was in my previous company and I was called in to kind of be the rescue pitcher when things were crumbling in our Asia-Pac region, where the China office was falling apart and Singapore office was giving us problems. People was leaving, there was fraud happening and so forth. And I got involved head in, and then I had a mentor who said, Manav, relax, take it easy, let the cookie crumble. Because you don't know how the cookie will crumble. It could go either ways, And that kind of has echoed with me throughout the last 18 months. Because the cookie crumbles differently for everyone. If you think about it, every state is a cookie in India. Every country around the world is a cookie. All of you are cookies, because how COVID has impacted each one of us, or how it has impacted our states, or how it's impacting our countries is different. And you can't plan for everything. And that's the point I'm trying to get to, that you can't plan for something like COVID. And most of us who are here today are in leadership roles. We know that, right? You can't, it's very difficult to plan for something where you don't know what the end game is. We took a decision 6 months ago when we missed our deadline to host HICSA in April, and we said, the next time we get an opportunity to host HICSA, if I get a 4.5-week opportunity, I will do it. 30 days ago, I made my first call to someone at Taj and said, I believe you guys have figured out a way to do these conferences. Can we do ours? And the answer was yes, and 30 days later, we are doing this event, because we would never have thought of that in our previous years. We typically, as conference organizers, plan this, 6 months in advance. And that cookie crumbling is leading to a lot of haphazardness in the way businesses are opening, the way state governments are opening, the way our visa regimes are working with other worlds and flights are happening. So the cookie crumbles differently for everyone, and that's a challenge. So what do? We live in hope, right? We hope that we would survive. That was a hope a few months ago. We hoped that things would get better. We hoped, remember those 5 incredible days last year when the government was putting up SOPs every day and all of us were glued to the television screens, that we hope something will happen. But there was no mention of the word tourism or hospitality in those 5 days. Unfortunately, in that case, the cookie crumbled, and instead of a cookie crumble, we got a humble pie. The other day, a few days ago, I saw a headline from Mr. Chatwal who said, hope is not a strategy. And I love that quote, because we can all live in hope, but that cannot become our strategy. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there. So before we go on today, I'm going to just talk about 5 random trends to look at because a lot of things have happened, right? These trends are there, and I'm sure there's going to be a few more trends. My partner and colleague Archon tomorrow will be making a presentation with more numbers, so I'm not doing the number crunching today. But I just wanted to talk about some of these things and put my thoughts out there. One is, let's look at the first one, right? Learning to live with less. We let go employees. A lot of companies did. A lot of the international companies certainly let go a lot of people. Pay cuts were happening 30-35%. In some cases, hotel companies have let go 30-35% people. Every expense item was looked at with a very close lens. I'll take one item that we've been interacting with, which is energy cost. In my previous avatar, in my old company, I was the global head of sustainability, where I ran the HVS sustainability business. And sometime during this COVID period, we came across this company called Zenitex. And Zenitex provides IoT-based solutions to help save energy cost. And what's been very interesting is that whoever we have spoken to, because when I come to you as an owner and say I can save you, or pretty much underwrite or guarantee you a 10% or 15% saving at the asset level, in 90% of the cases, and we will evaluate that before we actually get into it, I would imagine most owners would grab that opportunity. But it's not been the case, because what we have learned is that there's this old guard versus the new guard in most organizations. The old guard doesn't want to necessarily change the way things are done. It surprises me because if any of you get a new mobile phone, who do you go to? Do you go to your peers? Or do you go to someone who's 10 years, your grandson or your grandson, your son or daughter, to ask them for it? Because youngsters adapt to change. Youngsters adapt to technology a lot faster. What we have realized is in hotels, chief engineers don't necessarily want to change because they're used to the way things are happening. They're used to the BMS systems that are already out there. They're used to the 25 people that are reporting into them. They're scared of technology. But this is a reality. It's just an example of how we could learn to live with less, but people are not willing to give that a chance. And it worries me that when things get back to normal, we would have gone back to normal of hiring those same people back. So you enter a hotel, you'll have 5 people, 1 person giving you a tikka, 1 person putting a garland, 2 people carrying your bags, and so forth. The question is, do we really need that? Are we getting the $600, $800 rates to kind of justify that kind of a welcome? I can understand that in the Maldives, or I can understand that. But do I really need that when my room rate is around $6,000 or $7,000, which is less than $100? So I think that, to me, is that we have to learn to live with less. I'm not too sure if we will get that. The next thing I want to talk about is relationship status, right? We all have a relationship status on Facebook, right? We're married, we're divorced, we're looking, we're single. I don't know, I'm not so much of a thing. But the relationship status today is complicated, right? It's, we have all kinds of situations. We have owners having challenges with operators. We have operators and owners having challenge with vendors. People are not getting paid. You've got banks that are not getting paid, and banks are taking over those assets, so there's a challenge out there as well. But an interesting trend is that in a few cases, we've found that the brands have walked away from the operator. And I see that as a trend. I'm seeing that more and more. And I've spoken to people in the brands. They've also reached a point of no return where they're sick and tired of that owner who is not getting along with the operator. And sometimes it's better, in my opinion, to just walk away from that relationship and start afresh. So I think that's something that is interesting, and we've dedicated a whole session to a legal session tomorrow on this subject, so it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. The next event I want to talk about is road infrastructure, because I do believe road infrastructure is changed how travel is happening and will happen over the next few years. Remember the times when earlier you didn't travel beyond 4 or 5 hours to get to a venue. Today, in the post-COVID era, people are traveling 10 hours, 12 hours. I've seen people go from Bombay to Goa by car. We're seeing people travel from here to Shimla by car. So the distance has improved. People have realized that the quality of roads are much better. People have realized that the quality of cars are much better, so the suspension is much better, and therefore you're not breaking your back when you're traveling. So I think that is changing, and more leisure destinations are coming up. And it's also changing in cities. Imagine going from Hyderabad airport to Gachibowli in 20 minutes. Imagine coming from Delhi, South Delhi to Gurgaon in 20-25 minutes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this Trans-Harbour link that is coming up. How many of you have heard about this? So actually, I can only see around 10 or 15% of the audience lifting the hand. Let me tell you, this, for example, is going to transform Mumbai. Okay? Mumbai is south-north, right? And you have this narrow group where people travel. This road is going to open in 2 years' time. It's going to take you from South Bombay, Colaba side, to Navi Bombay in 25 minutes without a red light. Just imagine the possibilities of Navi Bombay, because that's where it's connecting, how Navi Bombay is going to change, and how that connectivity is going to change, and how positive it is going to be for the South Bombay hotels, particularly the Taj and the Oberois and the other hotels that are out there. It's going to transform things. So I think transportation, we are underestimating it, but how it's going to change travel in this country. The next thing I want to talk about, which I'm sure will, I'm sure it's going to travel, is leisure travel, right? This is something that has been discovered. Everyone who had a second home, or people who didn't have a second home, suddenly want to have a second home, right? Because they want to be able to. Earlier, people were renting this out as a hobby to their friends and family, maybe 4 or 5 days a month. Today, on the average, these homes are being rented out for 22 days a month. Is that a fad? Don't know. But I think the trend is here to stay. It may not be at that same level, but I think people want to have that experiential holiday rather than just go to a big brand and have a holiday out there, right? We have Vista rooms, we have Ama trails, we have all kinds of people who are getting into this business, and I think this is certainly going to change the way things move. You have, some of the groups. Kapil Chopra was getting into, not in the homestay, but in the leisure travel, right? Creating postcard. We have ITC trying to create story. We have Rosa Q, who's trying to create, their own brand of bungalows. So I think this is an opportunity and a business model that is going to continue to change. And finally, I want to talk about, went back too fast. Yep. I want to talk about the need to professionalize the unorganized sector. What I mean by this is that we've seen a lot of people get into this leisure space and the homestay base and the smaller independent hotels that were operating in these hill stations and locations, right? They don't know how to operate. It was okay when they were filling up 4 or 5 days a month. But now that we're filling up to 22 days or 23 days a month, they don't know how to deal with the OTAs. They don't know how to deal with the onslaught. And you know what? This was supposed to be their job, just relaxing. Now they're having to work doubly hard because they're running at 90+ occupancy. I'm surprised to see Himmat out here because all his hotels are doing 95 or 100% occupancy with I don't know what kind of crazy rates. But what we realized, a lot of people were knocking on our doors over the last few months and said, can you help us? Because over the last 3 years, we've been doing asset management, we were doing revenue management, we have a training division, we were doing marketing, and we were providing all these things separately, and people said, can you just put it all together, and would you manage those hotels for us? And this is something that we looked at, and that's also an area where we are getting into as a company. I've personally invested into AM hotels, to AM collections, to kind of help provide these third-party services to some of these hotels that are coming up. So I think there are other players, and we are seeing that with Story getting in, as I mentioned, with Rosa Q getting in. So there are players which are getting into these small boutique hotels. I do hope I want to leave this audience with the thought. God has been kind. We've allowed us to be here for the next 2 days. Please enjoy yourselves. I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful evening hosted by Taj. Just enjoy and spread the word that you can go to a MICE function. It can be safe. And let's encourage people to travel. We cannot be holed up forever. So enjoy the next 2 days, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.